Hello, everyone, and welcome in. We're talking college football conference championship weekend a little bit later. Thursday, late night after dark, completely not on schedule. Ralph Leary's here. Will Manis is still mad, but he's here. My name's Bryce Kuhn, talking college football here in the crowded booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The crowded booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Kuhn.
Locked and loaded here on a Thursday evening, 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. How you guys doing on a late night?
Tired.
It's too late for this.
Been a long day.
Yeah, it's been a long day. Been kind of crazy. Zach Garrison, we appreciate you being in here. Beauty and the Beast, Beauty and the Beard, Furniture Flips.
We lost Will.
Well, Will just said, I'm leaving. Will said, I'm done with this.
All right.
Well, we'll add him back here in a second.
Yeah.
Ralph, college football.
Come to an end. Oh,
Yeah.
There he is.
He just decided.
I don't know
Pete Gate.
You just leave? You just got mad and left?
what happened.
Pete Gate at
I don't know
night.
what happened.
Let's go.
Let's go get the
Hey,
first one, Bryce. Let's go ahead and get the first one in.
Yeah. For folks that don't know, Ralph, we can what happened? What has happened?
Bryce is officially going to be a father.
Hmm.
The scariest thing is
no one's put it like that yet, and that's pretty scary to hear.
the phone call we had when I said it to you was the worst.
That's true. That is true. Ladies and gents, boys and girls of all ages, we get college football. We have a lot of fun things happening. Conference title weekend starts tomorrow night. We're going to be live Saturday night, probably around the time that the Ralph. Well, we're not going to be live. You don't believe it?
I just didn't know. You just kind of throw that in there last minute.
No, I mean, hey, but he's already the father of the crowded booth. Power Tech, we appreciate you here on a Thursday evening. We'll be live Saturday night, probably towards the end of that final slate of games. Will, are you going to be able to be up for that one?
Yep.
You will? Okay. Will's going to go build airplanes with Charlie Peak. But hey, we're excited.
Nobody knows who that is.
No one knows that.
Good.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting. Ralph Leary, Will Mandis, my name is Bryce Kuhn. Thanks for joining in on a fantastic Thursday evening talking conference title games. Let's lead it off with the one that's on Friday night there, Ralph. Oregon, Washington. This is the last ever Pac-12 title game. Ladies and gents, Will, we'll start with you. You two have been leading up to this game all season long, especially after Washington knocked off Oregon. Will, Oregon enters as a 10-point favorite. A Heisman Trophy is on the line in this football game. I think I know who you're going with, but you can also take the spread as well. Where do you lean this game and why?
Oh man, this is tough. I think of all the games, this might be the best one we get, and it being Friday night, being the first conference title game, is going to be a lot of fun. It's in Vegas, so weird things are going to happen, and weird things have already happened. That spread has moved up to Oregon -10. That terrifies me as the biggest Oregon fan of the crowded booth. I mean, you said it. There's a Heisman Trophy on the line. Winner of this game, quarterback probably gets the Heisman Trophy. When is voting for that? Is that Monday?
Yeah, so the finalists will be named Monday, and they'll be voting throughout the week on that. But the finalists will be named Monday. So this is the last weekend to be able to kind of state your case, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I think you've got two of they'll probably, I'm guessing 3 finalists. They'll all be quarterbacks. 2 of them are playing in this game. Bo Nix and Oregon have been good all year. You go back to the regular season matchup. I think Oregon should have won, could have won the game had Dan Lanning not been probably overly aggressive. Going for 4th downs and losing on a missed field goal, which 3-point spread, that's exactly what you thought would happen. I think coming into this, when Oregon has gotten better as the season has gone along, So I like Oregon to win this one, but I do not like them to cover that 10-point spread. Both of these offenses are too good. I think it's going to be a close 4-quarter game.
Close 4-quarter game, Oregon against Washington. Ralph, when you look at this one, I know we've all been, back and forth. Michael Penix hasn't had the greatest end to a season, I think, that we've seen across college football. Bo Nix has. Your thoughts on this game and where you lean? This one's in Vegas. No home field advantage for the Huskies in this one.
Yeah, man, I think it's going to be a shootout, though. I mean, I think the over-under is 65.5. I feel like Will and I have been talking about these two teams all year long. Basically week 2, week 3. I like Washington. I've liked them all year. I like what they have done this year. Rome Odunze has been an absolute freak of nature. But on the other side, though, you have Troy Franklin, who's been great for Oregon. Bo Nix's stepbrother, Tez Johnson, has been also great. Almost 1,000 yards receiving this year with him. And Bucky Irving also eclipsed 1,000 yards last week in rushing. So Oregon's really just kept their offense behind Bo Nix, but they also have Bucky Irving, who's been a freak of nature. Basically, he leads the country in broken tackles this year. I like Oregon in this game just because it's a neutral site. I thought they, like what Will said earlier, they probably should have won that game in Washington. But neutral site, I think Oregon's got the chance. I don't like the spread either. I do see this being a shootout and Oregon pulling out toward the end of the game.
I can see the shootout. I think I'm going to roll with Oregon in this one. I'm going Oregon, but I think Washington covers. I think that this is going to be a really, really good football game. I think that we're going to see in this game, Oregon has the better football team. Sometimes the best football team does not win, and we saw that against Washington early in the season up there. I think in this game, you're going to see this is a more balanced Oregon team. It's a battle-tested Oregon team. Now, Washington obviously is the same. I think the more balanced team is going to take the win in Vegas. I'm going Oregon to win, Washington to cover, and I think the Ducks won. Bo Nix wins the Heisman off of this game. And look, I'm one of the biggest. You see the helmet right here behind me. Jaden Daniels is going to be there. Doesn't have the extra game to prove it. This is going to be all eyes on tomorrow night. I think Bo Nix wins the Heisman with his performance there, as long as it's a really, really good one. And 2, we're going to talk playoff scenarios to Saturday night and then in on next week. One would assume, well, I'm pretty sure you and I watch the same podcast. One would assume that if Oregon wins this game, they're in. Washington, if they win it, they're definitely in. So it's going to be obviously some big things to talk about. We're going to take a look at the playoffs. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, your big stat this game, Oregon, they've given up just 5 sacks all year. A lot of that's by design. They throw a lot of short stuff, a lot of screens. That helps not give up sacks. But either way, just 5. That's lowest in the country. Washington did get 1 in that first meeting. I think that's pretty significant. But Washington ranks just 110th in the country in sacks. They have just 19 on the year. So Bo Nix might just be able to pick this defense apart. But as well as they run the ball, if Washington wants to drop 7-8 into coverage, Bucky Irving will have a big day too. So we'll see. If Washington's really wanting Penix to win that Heisman Trophy, they may just drop 8 all game and make Bucky Irving run it and keep Bo's numbers low.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Good football game on a Friday night. I was just talking with somebody, and they said, man, how bad is that to have your conference title game on a Friday? And I get that, but all the big title games are in interesting time slots on Saturday, so this is your time to shine unless you are – I know there's – what is it, the Mountain West title game, which –
No, it's the Conference USA game Friday night.
So the FCS conference will be playing their conference title game.
It's Liberty hosting.
What channel is that on?
New Mexico State.
Is that on NFL Network?
Probably.
What are we doing?
Late night, man. This is
Will's muted. What's that ESPN show they used to have where they just mute the people and give them points and everything around the horn? That's what we're doing.
Around the horn.
Yeah.
That's what we're going with there. All right, let's roll into the next game here. A little bit shorter show tonight as we're doing a late night edition here on Thursday. This one, 4:00 Eastern, going to be inside, obviously, Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Will, I'm surprised you're not going, to be honest, with your connections at the Benz.
I'll tell you this. The SEC is very, 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 very – They're very, very stingy with their tickets.
Very.
So there's basically no freebies to be had. The SEC is trying to make their money. Probably because Arthur Blank charges so much rent.
That makes sense.
The GHSA has opinions about that.
Georgia State Stadium, Turner Field.
Center Park Stadium.
Center Park. Apologies.
All blue.
Georgia, Alabama. This one is honestly, guys, this is just going to be really, really good football. Like, I just think this is going to be good football. I sat in the case and I said it on Monday night. I think there's a strong possibility this is SEC bias. This is what it's going to be clipped as. This is probably the two best teams in the country when you talk about this. And I'll say this too: these two teams match up so well together, and that's why I've said, like, Alabama is the best shot, in my opinion, to beat Georgia. I just think that they are. They've got the best shot. Does that mean other teams don't? Yeah. No, it doesn't mean they don't. It just means that this is the best shot. So, Will, your thoughts on this? Georgia comes in as a 5.5-point favorite. I haven't looked the latest with Dallas Turner if he's going to be able to play in this football game or not. He would obviously be a big missing piece for that Crimson Tide front.
Yeah, I don't think we're going to know anything about Dallas Turner probably until about 3 o'clock or 3:30, at 30 minutes to an hour before kickoff. By design, Alabama doesn't want to give anything away. Man, this could be a tight game. It's going to be a tight game. You want more SEC bias, or at least Will's Homer Auburn bias? Auburn's the only team that has played both of these teams and kept it to one-score games. Heartbreaker last week. I'm still getting over it, of course. This one I think is really a toss-up. The more that I've thought about it as the week has gone on, I really think Alabama's going to do it. Nick Saban is like the best coach ever in Atlanta. I think he's won 7 in a row, or 7 of 8 in Atlanta. I think he's undefeated in Mercedes-Benz Stadium, SEC title games, and including that national championship game win over Georgia. I've been doing some research on this game and looking at some analytics. SP Plus, which is ESPN, I believe. This article doesn't say who owns it, but I'm 99% sure it's ESPN. They like Georgia. They like Georgia to win by a touchdown. Don't really agree. College Football Power Index thinks it's going to be. It basically calls it a toss-up. Like you said, these teams match up really well. Georgia obviously has emulated what Alabama has done to a T under Kirby Smart, Nick Saban's most successful lieutenant. He's only been able to take him down once, and that was in the national title game. So Saban, again, owns the head-to-head. It's going to be a tough one. See Dr. Bob's comment says the health of Brock Bowers and lunch pail lad McConkey is big key to him. Listen, Dr. Bob, listen. Those two didn't play against Georgia Tech because they didn't have to. Neither did Ra Thomas. Those guys will be back. Carson Beck, who I think, he's not going to be a Heisman finalist, obviously, and Brock Bowers took a lot of that shine from him early in the year. But I think he's just as good as Bo Nix, Michael Penix. Not as dynamic as Jaden Daniels, obviously, but I think as a quarterback in his system is just as good and just as important to his team. So I'm going to go Georgia to win close. I don't think they cover that 5.5. I think it's going to be a very, very close game, very physical game, probably the most physical conference title game that we'll see. And that says a lot. But coming from me for the one that we'll talk about later. Ralph knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, Ralph said we had to talk about it, so we will.
No, hold on. I said, do you want to talk about it? And you said, yes, I want to talk about it. So,
I want to talk about it. Look at this.
Yeah, we know. We know you do. Just get him out of here.
Ralph, your thoughts on this game before I close off with mine.
Look, I mean, Will said everything correctly there about Nick Saban in Atlanta. He's one of the hardest coaches to beat in general. He's even harder to beat in Atlanta. It's basically Bryant Denny Jr. in Atlanta for them right now. They play very well there. They always have. They're a great neutral site team. They always are. They always will be. But man, I feel like Georgia's defense is really good. I think they have enough guys who can slow Milroe down. They're not going to get beat, over the top. This defense is good. We've talked about this secondary the past few weeks. Kamari Laster, he's not getting beat downfield. I think that the pass rush is getting better the past few weeks. I want to see some, probably a better pass rush. Probably not, too aggressive to where you're, letting Milroe just run around on some scramble plays, which he has done almost every single game. But yeah, the defense has not been played very well for them in this game. The offense obviously has gotten better. Like Kendall Milton has played great the past few weeks. I'm hoping to see if he'd be the guy for them on Saturday. opening up the offense for Brock Bowers. I mean, Brock Bowers is the best player in college football when he's healthy. I think everyone can agree with that. I mean, that's not a comment we have not made, the past few years. So, yeah, I mean, if Bowers is fully healthy, this team's hard to beat no matter what.
Yeah. You mentioned Brock Bowers, you mentioned Lad McConkey, you mentioned Rara Thomas. I think this is a game where you're really, really going to get to see how good Carson Beck is, and some of the throws that he's made against. Look, some of the throws that he has made against the competition over the final portion of the season, you're going to get to see what it looks like against a really good secondary. I mean, you've got two guys that will probably be drafted in the first round, Kool-Aid McKinstry and Terrion Arnold. The latest mock drafts have both of those guys going in the first round, day one, at the very latest, day two picks. You've got a veteran safety group. This is probably the best secondary that Georgia and Carson Beck have faced. That's going to be a matchup to watch against the receivers. Because, look, I was in the building when the deadly offensive core of Jaden Daniels, Brian Thomas Jr., Malik Neighbors went in Tuscaloosa, and Alabama's secondary was so physical with them, they couldn't do anything. And Will, you mentioned the physicality. I think that's something to watch. The secondary against Georgia's receiving core. That's why having Brock Bowers is going to be huge, because he's a matchup nightmare. Rara Thomas might not be available. Dominic Lovett, might not be open. Lad McConkey might not be able to get open. Brock Bowers is probably going to get open against anybody. And that's one of the advantages of having a guy like that. When you also look in this game, Alabama's offensive line has been able to play well against average to below average defensive line groups. I mentioned this when we recapped the LSU-Alabama game earlier this year. Talent-wise, LSU had what it needed to be successful against Alabama's offensive front. They haven't lived up to the bar. Ralph, you mentioned getting pressure. Georgia is going to have to get pressure in this football game and contain Jalen Miller. I think that overall, when you look at what Georgia likes to do and Alabama likes to do, they are so similar. These are two just, Goliaths going at each other. And you can't make mistakes. Alabama, even in that Auburn game, guys, made some mistakes that Auburn took advantage of, but ultimately multiple. I'll go multiple. They made multiple mistakes, crossing the line of scrimmage, the snap over Milroe's head, things that Auburn took advantage of, but wasn't able to kind of put the nail in the coffin. This team in Athens, for me, is a team that can do that. And I think we're going to see a couple things here. We're either going to see this game play out two different ways. You're going to see Georgia just continue to flex its muscles. And I'm not saying blow Alabama out. I don't think anybody thinks that's going to happen, but continue to show why they are the best team in college football and why Kirby Smart has them playing so well. Or you're going to see an Alabama team that just has continued to kind of stay in the weeds, per Nick Saban, over the past couple of weeks, maybe the past month or so, ever since that USF game. And now they're trending in the right direction. They're trending upward. I went back and forth on this projection. Will, I was telling you, I feel like this is a game that Alabama ends up winning. I will tell you this. I think Alabama wins this football game outright. And I think they win it close. And it's going to spark a lot of debate about the college football playoff. It's going to spark a massive debate from Georgia fans because, and we don't need to get all into this, we'll talk about it on Saturday night. If Alabama beats Georgia, there's no way you can keep them out of the playoff. We talked about this on Monday. It's just going to be crazy. That's what you would say. And then you look at the team that they'd be going up against probably in Texas. But then, like we mentioned, Will, is Texas better than Oregon? I don't know. It's a lot of different type of conversations that we're going to be having, and we'll figure it out on Sunday night. But I am taking Alabama to win this football game. I think it go either way. I will probably wake up tomorrow and throw on my Georgia pullover, or on Saturday and think the Dogs are going to win this one. I think it's going to be great football. I think, guys, it's going to be the best football that we watch on Saturday.
Oh God, he just had to say it.
What's that?
You just had to say you're wearing a Georgia pullover. You just had to tell the fans.
I have a really nice Georgia black pullover that I will throw on. Yeah, it's
I don't think there's any doubt this is going to be the best football we see. Obviously, Oregon Washington will be a really good game, but those defenses, although Oregon's pretty close, are not at this level. I think that game you'll see a lot of bust, and you'll see two just really, really good offenses get theirs. This game, I don't think you're going to see that. Just two totally different styles. I'm with you. It's been a toss-up for me, but I worry about Alabama's health. If they don't have those pass rushers, man, Carson Beck.
It's going to be tough.
Even as good as Alabama's secondary is, you can't let Carson Beck have all day to throw. You can't do it because I think they'll find ways. They'll find ways to move the ball against that secondary. And even if they're too big, front seven guys are out, they'll run up against that front. Georgia can do it. They showed it against Georgia Tech. I'm not taking a shot, but Kendall Milton looked the best he's looked and the healthiest he's looked all year. That is really big for Georgia coming into this game.
Like in his career, he has looked the best he's looked as of late. And look, this is a really good offensive line. I will piggyback this. One of the things that I think could determine the game too is, and I'll give credit to Georgia Tech, they showed Alabama the game plan. You have to utilize Milroe on runs. The scramble drill's okay, but utilize quarterback runs with him because Haynes King and Georgia Tech
Auburn too. Peyton Thorne had his biggest rushing day against Georgia.
Yeah.
You can't account for the quarterback. The quarterback is the biggest X factor in the run game for any offense.
And with freshman linebackers playing too, that could be a concern.
And I don't know that there's any better, at least at Georgia's face, that they're going to see other than Milroe. I mean, that dude, he ran all over Auburn too. Auburn could not contain him. They couldn't do it.
I want to ask you this before we move on to the next game. Are we watching two of the most unguardable football players play in this game between Brock Bowers and Jalen Milroe? You might just be.
I think so.
You might be. I mean, two guys you really –
unless you want to say that Alabama-LSU game and it took a missed targeting call to knock one of them out.
I mean, I'll say my case one more time. Not Jalen. Ralph, you got me confused there. Jaden Daniels is the toughest person to scheme against in the country. And I think there's a lot of great things, and he's putting up numbers. But I do agree that I think Bo Nix wins the Heisman.
Bryce, we've talked about this. I've at least said this all year, and add that hit to your list that they've been doing all they could to put Alabama in position to make the playoff.
Because if Jaden Daniels, now I don't know if they would have won the football game, but if they did, he wins it. Because he's in Atlanta. He's in Atlanta with a chance to play Georgia in the SEC title game.
No doubt.
What's that meme from The Last Dance? That guy. Clip it.
People just want to call me sore loser, whatever.
SEC.
I've got years of evidence.
Writer.
I've got years of evidence that they want Alabama to win, even when they're not good.
We'll see. Gonna be a fun one. Gonna be a really, really fun one. Let's move on to the next game here, Ralph. And it's one that, as we kind of rock and roll through, I think it's an underrated game. Oklahoma State has a good football team. They've got some veteran players. I think Texas wins this one, and I'm even going to go out on a limb, Dr. Bob. I think Texas covers. Like, I think the Longhorns make a statement.
Are we doing conference championship best bets?
I don't know, but I got to pull something. I'm Notre Dame Navy. Week 0. I got to do something here. I get
Flip it, Dr. Bob.
Ollie Gordon's great. I think that Texas has to make a statement to get into the playoff, and I think they do. I think you guys agree with me. Like, if they're going to make the playoff, they got to win this one big.
I mean, they got to have a lot of help. So I'm not sure that it matters. I'm taking the other side. I'm going Oklahoma State to cover that plus 15.5, not to win the game. I don't know that they have the depth or the firepower to win the game. It's going to take career day from Alan Bowman again, which I think he did that against Oklahoma. At least Oklahoma. I haven't watched all their games, but yeah, Ollie Gordon. Ollie Gordon is probably the best running back in the country. I think Oklahoma State's going to come in and try to shorten this game and try to keep Quinn Ewers and that Texas offense on the sideline as much of the game as possible. I'll tell you what, man, Oklahoma State, Mike Gundy, he always finds a way. He's found a way the last 3 times. I think he's been to the Big 12 title game just to kind of sneak his way in there. Mm-hmm. Big 12 Coach of the Year, Mike Gundy this year. Because the Big 12 coaches are mad that Texas and Oklahoma are leaving.
Yeah, Sark should have got it, but that's fine.
Yeah, Sark should have got it, but they give it to Gundy, which I think if you take out the 42-3 loss to UCF, he probably gets it. Wins Bedlam
45-3.
45-3. I knew there was 40 something. There was a 42 mixed in
You
there
just wanted to
somewhere.
bring that up.
Wins Bedlam, final year of Bedlam, and a team that a lot of people did not expect to do anything. Gets them in the Big 12 title game. So I think Oklahoma State keeps it close. They've reshaped their identity again under Mike Gundy. That's their defensive run first team. It's going to take a lot. They're going to have to turn Texas over a couple times. That's how you pull off an upset in a 15-point spread game like this. So I don't think they do it. That's asking too much, but I do think they cover, and I think they cover pretty handily.
Texas is really good against the run. And I think one of the reasons that people are just like, well, is it going to because they say it's Texas. Like every single year, Texas feels like they do something. And obviously, they had the game against Oklahoma earlier this season. I don't know. I think that this is one of those.
And Mike Gundy, that's his motivation.
Oh, yeah.
Oklahoma wanted to leave. We took them down. Let's do the same thing to Texas.
They would love nothing more. I think this is I just think on paper, when you kind of look at some of the numbers, it's a bad matchup for Oklahoma State. Just with the ability to run the ball, the way they run the ball. And I think that a big reason why people think that Oklahoma State can win this game is because, well, it's Texas. Like Texas is bound to have a game that they just don't show up in. I am in the camp, and look, as I said this, I had Texas in my playoff at the beginning of the season. So I'm riding with them the whole way here. I think that this is a team that's much improved and has turned a corner mentally inside the doors of that football facility. I think they have. Ralph, your thoughts on this one? The 15.5-point spread here in favor of the Horns. How you feel about that, and how you feel about the game overall?
After my downfall in the best bet, with
Contest.
Oklahoma State, I'm kicking at Texas, and for that reason only. And that's
Are you taking Texas to cover?
No, I'm not taking Texas cover.
Okay.
I don't think Texas cover. So look,
no squad ride here.
No squad ride. I don't think we should squad ride this one at all. I think the squad ride should be the Big Ten championship game in the under. Look,
Nope.
Texas is good. I like Quinn Ewers. I like what they've done this year. They've played some good football. They've had some banged up games where haven't been fully healthy. I think they are starting to actually turn it around. They looked really good last few weeks. Had a great game last week against Texas Tech. They blew out Texas Tech. They did exactly what they were supposed to do in that game. Everyone was saying, "Oh, Texas Tech."
And they look so good against Texas Tech.
Look, I know it's not. I know it's Texas Tech. They're not terrific, but they also that's the only team that's held Oregon to the least amount of points this year.
But also to your point, Ralph, in the idea that people speak against Texas, because it's Texas, like that would have been an atmosphere in a game at Lubbock, that they would have lost in recent years. So
right.
Yeah, I think they took care of business, and like you said, convincingly.
Yeah, and so moving forward from that game, they played healthy. They had no injuries. They didn't force anything to force anyone to get hurt. So I think they're almost fully healthy for this game this weekend. I think I like Ollie Gordon, like you said, Bryce. I think he's the best running back in the country.
Statistically, he is. Yes.
Well, I mean, I think he is in general. I mean, his past, I think, first 3 weeks he didn't really do anything. After that, he just kind of turned a switch and became the best running back. So. I like Ollie Gordon. I like Gundy, but I gotta go Texas this game. I think Texas is a better team overall.
All right, so lock it in. I've got Texas covering the spread.
To quote Mike Gundy, I'm not discrediting what you're saying, but they're motivated. You know the video I'm talking about?
I have no clue what you're talking about, but
that's
I'm sure
rant.
it's great.
That's his rant about Twitter. You should look it up.
Oh, okay. All right. Where do we want to go from here? Because we've got two games, one that I'm going to be watching and another one that I'm just going to be.
We're going to go ahead and get it over with, Bryce, because we want to talk about it now.
I'll tell you what, if you watch Saturday, I'll be looking like this the entire show, watching every second of – are we talking about it now? Of this game.
We're going to talk about it like this. We're going to do this right here, and don't worry. It's just me and Will talking about it. That's all it's going to be.
Go ahead.
No. Bryce, you go first, obviously.
I'll go first, and then I'll go first and let you guys have this. I mean, look, I think with this game, you've got obviously Michigan, Iowa. I think that this very much, you could literally see a situation where Michigan covers this spread in a shutout form. Like it's wild to me. Iowa is so bad offensively. Not a real quarterback. Not a real football team. We're muting them because I want to be able to say what I want to say. It's a joke. It's a monstrosity to the sport that we all love, that they're allowed to continue to go do this each and every single week. That side of the Big Ten is essentially the Conference USA. I don't know why we even let them play. If I was them, I would essentially just cut off that side. I mean, there's no point for that side of the Big Ten. Look, I was going to come in this game, and every single year they're the sacrificial lamb, it feels like, for Michigan or Ohio State. And I know that they've won in the past, or they've done some cool things. You're not a serious contender if you walk out here with this offense. Like, you're just plain and simple not. You're not serious about what you want to accomplish as a football program. It's a monstrosity to the fan base. If they have fans, I mean, the coolest thing they have is when they turn around and wave at people, and that's great. Like, I enjoy that. I like that. But that's as much action as this offense gets by raising their hands up in the air. Receivers, you wouldn't even want to play there. Like, how do you even recruit offensively at Iowa other than playing tight end or offensive line? Like, outside of those things, I don't know what you do. The quarterback that they have literally is a couple Popeyes biscuits away from playing and being looking like Jared Lorenzen. I mean, it's an absolute joke that we allow this stuff to continue each and every single week. I have Michigan covering this game. I hope they bury, literally, not figuratively, bury this Iowa coaching staff so they cannot come back next year. And we can just move on to bigger and better football games. I don't want Michigan to win. If I'm honest with you guys, I'd love to see Iowa win this one. But bottom line here, I don't care about this game. I don't think anybody should care about this game, and it's a continued example of the monstrosity of what the Big Ten football is. That's all I have to say. Michigan gets a cakewalk as they get to head into the playoff, and they get to cry about their coach that they act like is deceased, but he cheated. That's all I have to say.
Hater. The hate, just a hater. The hate is not going to be tolerated, at least from this side.
He got up and walked away from his computer.
Okay, good for him. So he doesn't have to listen to the truth that I'm about to drop on everybody.
You want me to go first so you have a little more time?
You can go first.
Look, I think we've been on this Iowa team just for fun. The Sickos committee is here. This is who we are. Iowa's defense is great. I truly believe it. They always have been great. They've done great in the past years. I mean, Iowa's got some underrated secondary players. They really do.
Is that how you say his name? The corner?
So.
He's electric punt returner. He can play. He's a real player.
Good. Now I'm not talking about the offense. I don't even want to speak about the offense because there's no such thing as offense in Iowa. But this game's going to come down to see if Iowa can just force Michigan to kick field goals. I mean, I know that we joke about them just being a field goal team only, but if you let Michigan score 2 touchdowns, you're not winning this game because, for one, you can't score. You haven't scored all year enough to beat someone like that. So if you want to win this game, you want to go into a kicking contest because that's what you really want to have. You rather have a kicking contest in this game than Michigan scoring twice and you not scoring at all. Because if it's 14-0, I'm telling you right now, Michigan will win this game easily. So
what? Dr. Bob is saying Cooper DeJean is out.
Is he real? Oh well, I'm about to say Michigan by 70. Then
I'm looking.
Oh my, that's not good.
Is he really out?
Oof.
I mean,
who cares?
Dr. Bob is almost always right.
Cooper DeJean's getting ready for the NFL, where he can be the first white quarterback take in
2023. That is feeble. I was covering the spread. I don't know. I don't know.
You don't even know how. Like, how are they going to get there? How are they going to get there?
Because they're probably going to hold Michigan to about 9 or 10 points, and they'll get a field goal. So I take the under, but take Iowa team total over half a point. That is the biggest joke of a total. They're definitely going to score. They're trying to bait people to take less than half a point. They're going to score. They're going to score. And they might mess around and score twice because they might get a pick six.
I think Georgia Tech would beat Iowa, honestly. And I'm being dead serious about that.
No, the defense is good. Like, I know that they've played,
and they're wasting a good defense. They're wasting a good defense.
They've played nobody because the Big Ten West is awful. And thankfully, Bryce, for your sake, it is no more. The most beautiful.
Thank God.
the most beautiful division in college football is no more. They're scrapping divisions with adding those West Coast teams, which is a joke in and of itself. The Big Ten continues to be a laughingstock. Although the best news come out of the Big Ten in like 5 years was Indiana hiring Kurt Cignetti. They might actually be competitive for a change. But yeah, 22 points is too many points. Iowa's defense is too good. I mean, Michigan could win this thing 21-0, but Iowa still covers. I like Iowa to cover the 22 points. They're going to find a way.
I hate them.
I mean, you can't. I know you hate them, but you've got to acknowledge the job that Kirk Ferentz and Phil Parker have done with that defense. Hopefully, Phil Parker doesn't stay there because he should go be a coach somewhere else and get some real recognition and win something. But the funniest thing ever would be if Iowa just wins this game outright. If they do, they'll probably win it like
I would love
8-3. It'll be like 8-3. They kick 2 field goals and get a safety. That would be Iowa.
You know, I would rather watch 2009 Illinois under Ron Zook than watch this Iowa team.
Hey, who was that? Is that the quarterback I'm thinking of?
Quarterback. Juice Williams, Illinois quarterback.
Yeah, they played for the Rose Bowl. They played in the Rose Bowl that year.
Well, not 09. They were 3-9. But yes, yeah.
Oh, well, Juice Williams was quarterback when they played.
They were really, really good.
What year was that? Do you know? I don't even know. They beat Michigan that year. Go watch that game if you want to watch 2009 Illinois.
Ralph, what do you want to say?
I've already said what I want.
He already went.
Okay, awesome.
I'll let Will go. I went first, so Will can have his time.
All right, let's just move on to the next one, please.
Yeah.
ACC.
2007. Thank you, Dr. Bob.
Ladies and gents, I think this is going to be a
there.
very, very good football team and football game. And let's just get this out of the way. Tate Rodemaker, it's not Rodemaker, it's Rodemaker. Tate Rodemaker has been nice as the quarterback. He's a talented kid. Obviously, they're not the same team with Jordan Travis. They are, there's different things that you can sit here and talk about, Florida State, whatever. I just want to get straight to the chance here, and let's just cut straight to the chase. Is it crazy for us to sit here and think that Louisville wins this football game?
No, not at all.
I don't think it's crazy.
Ralph, you go first.
Look, I like Florida State. I love what Jordan Travis did this all year. I hated seeing him get injured before this game because I thought if he plays this game, it's Florida State by 1,000,000. I think
if he plays, he might have an outside shot at being the fourth person in the Heisman Trophy ceremony.
Agreed. As he'd been a sleeper for the Heisman easily.
Yeah,
I think what Tate Rodemaker has done this year in his 2 games, I go back to, obviously UNAB came in a very hard, in a difficult situation. No one wants to come in that situation at all. He looked efficient. He looked good. Looked comfortable out there in Florida. Florida gave him their all. The defense they got 5 sacks on him, or 3 sacks on him. Sorry, and he looked a little roughed up from that. Wasn't really used to that. It was his first road game really as a starter in the swamp. Not an easy place to play.
Mm-hmm.
It's a loud stadium. He goes to a neutral site. There'll be a Florida State travel as well. They do. They will be there. They will be loud for him. Louisville will also be there. Their fans do travel pretty well also. They traveled,
They traveled well to Atlanta earlier this year.
They did. I was actually impressed. At one point, I thought there's more Louisville fans and Tech fans at one point, but,
And that might not be completely untrue.
Well, remember, you don't look behind the Louisville sideline. You can see just no one was sitting back there. So
That's true.
But they were loud. But look, they got a lot of weapons, man. Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Trey Benson, they're electric players. This offense is good. In my opinion, you don't really need a Jordan Travis back there. You need a guy who can just get the ball to those players, those playmakers, because those guys can make plays. They can do what they need to do. They can do what they need to do with the ball in their hands, and they'll help them win this game. The defense has played good enough this year. I think they'll hold Louisville probably to 17 points, but I think they win 24-17.
Go and score prediction. Will, I think you said it's not too crazy. Look, Jeff Brom's a really, really good football coach. He's gotten a lot out of Louisville this season. Plummer does turn the ball over, and I think that's going to be a key for this team going forward. Can they not turn the ball over and win an ACC title in year 1? Your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, Brom has I think he should be up there for National Coach of the Year honors. The turnaround he's had in 1 year, bringing in Plummer, who is not all that impressive when you watch, but when you dig into his numbers, he's been really good. I'm sitting here trying to pull it up, but I was obviously too slow. Louisville also has one of the better defenses in the ACC. Obviously, Florida State, the best. Obviously, the cream of the crop in the ACC. I wish my camera would focus. That would be great. There you go. Florida State's really good, but without Jordan Travis, man, they did not look good against Florida. Florida probably should have won that game, had a 2-score lead in the third quarter. But Florida State, credit to them, they found a way. Louisville's coming off a loss, kind of an embarrassing loss to their rival Kentucky, 38-31. They I don't think they showed up. I think they were overlooking Kentucky, getting ready for Florida State. I'm going to pick the upset. I'm going to pick Louisville to win and win outright and create some chaos in the playoff. I really like what Brom's done. I like the offense he's built around Plummer. Plummer's shown he can take care of the ball. And Florida State offensively did not look pretty anemic with Rodemaker at quarterback. So I'm going Louisville in a close one.
Yeah, I think that, look, you're going to have to rely a lot on Trey Benson in this football game, like you did last week against Florida. If you get off to a slow start, that is going to be a recipe for an upset, obviously, for Louisville. I am going to also side with you in the fact that I think Louisville can win this football game, and I think they do. I think that they eliminate the conversation that we might be having about is Florida State good enough or not. I think Louisville wins this, and arguably you could say that you wish they would have not voted on ACC Coach of the Year too early because I think he deserves it. So I'm going with Louisville here. Hey, can you guys hear the rain outside my apartment right now?
Yes.
I can.
It's pretty loud. Pretty loud. All right. Hey, that's it for previews. The final one we'll roll with here. Toledo against Miami of Ohio. I'll tell you this. Miami of Ohio has got a really, really good defense. Toledo going for back-to-back MAC titles. I'm going with Toledo to win this one, give their head coach his third MAC title. I would rather watch that than Iowa and Michigan.
You don't want to watch Troy and App State?
What about SMU and Tulane?
That is going to be a really good football game, actually. I'm excited to see what SMU looks like without Preston Stone. Let's do it for Dr. Bob. How do you guys feel about this? SMU Tulane.
3.5 point spread, Tulane favored. Under and over is 47.5.
Do it for Dr. Bob.
Yeah, it's home field for Tulane. No Preston Stone for SMU, even though SMU, they run the ball really well. They're not going to skip a beat there. But I like Tulane with the home field advantage.
I'm going Tulane as well. I think Willie Fritz is a really, really good football coach. Once again, another cycle with him amidst the coaching rumors. I think that Tulane goes back-to-back here with American Conference titles, puts themselves in a nice bowl game, probably going to be that representative over Liberty as well. And I'm excited. I saw and maybe we should try to go to this because I'll be back in Georgia. I saw a projection where it had, I believe it was Tulane and maybe Penn State in the Peach Bowl. Which would be a fun game. That'd be a really fun game. Two teams we don't really get to see a lot of. So we got Dr. Bob who's going to be there. Mekhi Hughes at running back is great, he says. I will watch that one. That'll be a lot of fun. But, hey, we appreciate you tuning in. Completely impromptu show. We had great interaction from the fans. We appreciate it. A couple things before we get out here. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you join, become a member of the channel. Really, really simple process for you to do that. 2 different tiers. We would love to have you on there.
That little nifty green image next to your name if you're a member.
You do. We're going to make some custom images, too, for people. I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but I got somebody working on it. Dr. Bob is going to be down in NOLA for
I was trying to pull up
game.
the little logo next to his name. That was what we were talking about.
Oh.
Sorry.
That's fine. Will Manis, Ralph Lair, my name is Bryce Kuhn. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. We will catch you next time here Saturday night. We're going to be scheduling that. We're going to be live, kind of recapping the day that was. And don't worry, Tech fans. I've got a portal episode coming up because some names that are probably going to jump in and what the Jackets might be looking for as well. We'll talk to you again here on the Crowded Booth.
Pile in here and make yourself feel at home. The Crowded Booth is coming on. The Crowded Booth with Bryce Kuhn.